Oi you, it's time for another episode of Dorothy and the Dealer. Let's tune into the conversation.
Obviously.
How's it going, guys? Welcome.
Yo.
We have a very special guest today.
Good morning.
Good morning, George. How you going?
Good. How are you?
I know
guys?
you're a little bit nervous,
Is
aren't
he?
you? I think he looks a little bit nervous.
I won't give
He's
you a
got
hard time, I
nervous
promise.
You always
smile.
give me a hard time.
He always does.
I think you're allergic to not giving hard time.
I think he is. So I've just made you more nervous because I said to you that you have to think of a song. So what's your go-to song, George?
My go-to
Or
song.
any song, like a song that you're listening to a lot at the moment, any of that sort of stuff.
Oh, that's a tough one.
It
song
is.
that I'm listening to a lot at the moment.
And if it's by Culture Club or anything like that, look, it's
Do you know what song
You know,
I really
he probably
like?
doesn't even know. He's too young to know.
No,
who
do you know what
Culture
song
Club
I
is.
really like?
What?
And I asked Alana if we would have this at our wedding, and she
Oh.
kind of was like, I don't know about that. I really like Marvin Gaye, Let's Get It On.
Let's get it on.
It's such a tune.
It
And I was
is.
like to Alana, would we dance to that? And she's like, no chance. We're not dancing.
Well, you'd be dancing very
imagine?
slowly. I mean, you'd probably end up making love in the middle of the dance floor at your own wedding, which is
Possibly.
probably not a good idea.
But I love the song. But then I don't know. On reflection, I don't know if it would actually. I don't know.
probably-
I don't know if it's weddingable. But
No, it's probably not.
the idea was there.
Yeah.
You know how Marvin Gaye died, don't you?
No,
His son shot him.
actually,
Yeah.
I
You
didn't
know the most random shit.
That's nothing random
I
about
might
that.
have to fact
I
check
just
that.
don't know.
Fact check.
Yeah.
Anyway.
There you go. You came up with
So how
something
you going,
pretty
big fella?
something,
You looking forward to coming away and doing a bit of bike riding again?
I am looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to going for a ride. I'm looking forward to hopefully watching you stack it. when you come off.
huh? That's the joy of it, isn't it?
Yeah. He's a much better rider than me now, Mills, let me tell you.
I
But he's
don't
young and he's
imagine
got
that would be that hard.
Bigger balls, you know. I don't know what as you get older, your I don't know, your balls shrink. What do you think, George?
Yeah, but every time when we went to Lingalonga, you were like, "Oh, I can't do it," and then you wrestled with yourself for the whole weekend, and
I
then in
ride
the
in my
last
head a lot.
half of the day, you did 3 things that you didn't do last time.
Oh, I know, but that's because I'd be
and then you
calculating.
came back, and you were like, "Oh my god, I'm so glad I did that. I can't believe I was going to go home having got through it."
I know, but dude, I'm a very head rider because there's a lot goes through my head. I'd be just about to do a jump or whatever, and I think, Jesus, I've got 3 kids, a business. That if anything goes wrong here, I got to jump on a plane and fly out to Melbourne on Monday. Fuck. So that's what goes through my head.
He comes back and he's like, I can't risk hurting myself. I've got to go away. I've got stuff to do. I was like,
Shut
yeah,
up.
what happens when you cross the road or do anything?
Exactly.
He's like,
He's very, very, very precious. He's very precious.
Precious. Anyway,
So yeah, let's talk. Thanks for coming in. It's good to have you. I think we've been meaning to get you here for this podcast for a while, and it's just been one thing after another. So,
Yeah.
But let's talk a little bit about you and your story, George, and how long ago did we first meet?
So I'm pretty sure from memory, I came to an info night in May or April or May 2018.
Was it 2018?
Yeah, April, May 2018. Because I remember I think at the time I was going through a bit of stuff with my parents. So I was in the middle of a parental separation, and I was kind of playing the middleman of trying to play the son role and the brother role and the partner role, and like the juggling of all of those scenarios, and working for a family business at the time was kind of driving a wedge between everything. And I remember thinking to myself, I know that there's some stuff going on, but I didn't really know how to deal with it. And I saw a link for an info night on Facebook. And I remember thinking, I was working in Aussie Park at the time, and I remember thinking, oh, it's in Balcatta. That's only around the corner. So I don't know if I've told you this story before. I came here for the info
You
night.
have told me, but
and
tell it again.
I sat in the car park because I was early, and I was online on my phone, and I was like, I'm just going to buy a ticket. I'll get a ticket first, and then I'll go home, have a shower, and come back. And I sat in the car park, and I was like, oh, it's sold out. And I honestly wrestled with myself for like 10, 15 minutes in the car, and I was like, am I going to go in there and ask them if they've got any more tickets? Am I just going to go home and write it off? And I think I went and saw Mary. I think Mary saw me when I walked in, and I was like, oh, it says the event's sold out. And she's like, no, it isn't. You just come back in an hour and 10 minutes or whatever it was.
Right.
And I remember going home, having a shower, and I was like, okay, we're on here. Like I'm going. And I came back, and I remember listening to you guys talk, and I honestly thought everything you guys spoke about in that evening was directed at me. I thought I was the only person sitting in the room. All the examples, the scenarios you used, that was all me. And I was like, these guys
You're allowed to swear. It's okay.
Can we swear?
Yeah.
Okay. I was like, these motherfuckers have got me figured out already. I don't even know them. I only met them half an hour ago. And then, I remember thinking to myself, I know I know where I was at the time is not where I wanted to be, and I knew that there needed to be some kind of catalyst for that change. And to be honest, before meeting you guys and doing the all the seminars, I actually hadn't really had any exposure to personal development work. I'd only really watched a few Bob Proctor videos on YouTube,
Really?
and that was it.
Yeah.
That was honestly it. And then, obviously attended RNY, and then just took.
So when you say you weren't where you want to be, what do you mean by that? Explain what that was like. Because it wasn't that you weren't successful and stuff like that.
And I mean, like at the time, I was earning good money. I had a full-time job. I had a long-term partner, but it was just a ripple effect of just little cracks that were just appearing in my finances. Like I've never had a problem earning money, but I could never keep the money. It used to go out the door, as fast as it would come in. Obviously, some of that now I know due to some spending habits and like a need to want to externally feel validated from X, Y, Z. And just in my personal life, like I didn't have a very good relationship with myself. The stuff that was going on with my family was impacting me personally. That was then filtering into my relationship with Alana, which was also not in a good place either. And I think just everything, it kind of just seemed like everything was happening to me. Obviously not to me, it was for me, but at the time I just remember thinking to myself, it's just, I'm not where I want to be financially, mentally, physically, emotionally.
It was like a snowball effect that got you to that.
How old were you at the time, George?
I think I was 20, what's 2018? 25.
25. And were you partying?
Yes.
Hard?
Yes. I may actually, this will be, I don't know if I want to indoctrinate myself here, but I was partying. I was using recreational drugs pretty regularly. I was kind of just blowing myself up.
Yeah. Which is very common. And
that whole thing about having money and then not being able to keep it, it's a whole self-worth thing, It's about people feel like they're getting it all in, but not being able to hold on to it is a massive sign of a low self-worth.
That's
and
right.
the same thing with the partying. If you're doing it to a degree where you're literally blowing yourself up, which is something that happens at that age group anyway. It's the same type of thing.
Yeah.
You're trying to feel something outside of you that you're not feeling on the inside.
That's right. And I feel like there's a big difference between just having a good time periodically and immersing yourself so much because you don't want to feel a certain type of way, which is what I was doing.
Yeah.
I think the other thing you said there, the other point was you said external validation, and that's a big thing for a lot of people. They don't realize that they do things because they're wanting validation from a peer or a parent or whatever it is. So when you're doing that, you're motivated, and it doesn't matter what you do. The validation that they give you is never going to be enough, because in actual fact, the validation you're looking for is in you. And it's one of the things we want to be able to do with people right from the beginning is flick the switch on that to show them, no, the validation you're looking for is not ever going to be enough from a parent or a peer. It has to be enough from you. You have to get that. The only validation you need is your own validation, and then when you do things, you're not looking for the reward from the parent or the peer to go, hey, fucking well done. You're there. If they say that to you, it just adds to the validation you've already got yourself. It just allows you to feel, hey, that's awesome that you guys see that, but I'm doing this for me now. I'm not doing. You guys have done your job. I don't need anything more out of you. You did great, Mum. You did great, Dad. You did great, peer. Now what I need is it's in me. There's no need in the outer world anymore. I'm in control of what I actually want from the inside out, which is what we saw happen pretty quickly with you. You tweaked it pretty quickly.
So what was that like? Because obviously that's a process, and you came along and did relationships new. What was that moment? What did you get? What did you realise?
For me, it was all kind of centred around some of my feelings towards my dad. So your story is very similar to mine, Mitch, in that you always sought the approval of your dad. And I did the same thing. I had my dad up on a pedestal, obviously had myself in a pit simultaneously. And everything I tried to do was always to get his approval, a lot of that subconsciously. But I feel like when I attended RNY, the biggest thing for me was a bit of a perspective shift. It was almost like clarity on what had happened previously, and then not allowing that sort of, like emotional fluctuation to filter into what I do moving forward. It was a lot more, everything was a lot clearer. There was a lot more of a perspective shift on it all. And I kind of got that, it didn't matter what I did. I didn't need his approval. It was me that it's starting internally. I don't need to seek it because I already have it.
It's such a big thing because everybody knows that on a, like a surface level. Do you know what I mean? Like anybody can come and tell you that you don't need somebody else's approval, but there's something that happens when you actually get that for yourself. And so what was that like for you to actually click with that? Do you know what I mean? What did you notice was different?
It was pretty emotional.
Yeah.
There was a lot of waterworks going on.
Yeah.
I noticed, I don't know, it's hard to explain. It was kind of like just a clear, sort of like a clean slate.
Yeah.
And for me, you guys talk about the different sort of reactions that you have to R and Y, with it being everything coming together in the big bang or the domino effect.
Yeah.
For me, it was the domino effect.
Yeah,
so
like
I started
mine,
noticing little things trickling through, like the way that I felt about listening to other people talking, specifically him.
Yeah.
The way that I noticed that I would speak about myself
Yeah.
in similar scenarios where previously I would kind of say things and do things that would be looking for that validation.
Right,
I kind of started noticing the dominoes going of, I used to say that quite a lot. I shouldn't be saying that.
Yeah.
I shouldn't be thinking that way, or I shouldn't be opening the conversation with that kind of that kind of terminology.
Yeah.
And it kind of just snowballed on from there. And then I guess I started, like obviously attended some of the other seminars, put the wealth principles into place, and I started like gaining a lot of momentum and then building that momentum on from there. That's what was giving me the dominoes.
It's a funny thing though. You kind of have to. Excuse me. You kind of have to
Very
go.
coffee today.
I know. I think the water went down the wrong way, and I
Is
think I
that
got
right?
a peanut stuck down in my esophagus. Yeah. Anyway, so I think one of the things that happens is that before people have a shift in innermost dominating thought, which is the central voice in their heads, that central voice has had 24 years of practice, and so you really have to go beyond that voice, and I think that life kind of pressurizes us into going, okay, I don't trust this central voice anymore. There has to be something greater outside of that, what that central voice is actually telling me. And then what happens then is that when you do that, it's like you have to go beyond your history. You have to really let go of the history of what life has told you and know, okay, I have to just have faith in that life is leading me somewhere to show me something. And I mean, that's how it was for me. I got, this can't be real, and what I'm being told here and what has happened to me can't be true. There has to be something greater, but the difficulty is that central voice has 24 years of practice of continuously pounding you with the same belief that you're not good enough, and it's just not true. And the beauty about it is that when you get it, for me, when I watch people get it, they suddenly, language, everything does change, they do start to really, step outside of themselves and observe how they're behaving so they can alter the behavior. But something else occurs is that we seem to shift in frequency. We become more inwardly balanced, as I say all the time, inwardly fluent and outwardly influential. And then we attract other situations and circumstances, people, opportunities into our lives that we know were always there, but we just didn't know how to tune into it. Do you know what I mean? Because what we were tuning into was a fucking statement inside of us that said, you're not good enough, you're not smart enough, you're not. And I'm not, this is not, solely, our story. It seems to be over time. It's everybody's fucking story in some way. The gap between where you are and where you want to be is dependent on what you're saying to yourself internally all the time. And lots of people try to fake that. They try to fake that they're out here. That's not sustainable. So it's funny how the answers are always just inside of us, and it doesn't take much. I mean, who took you through when you were in the room?
I think it was Kerida.
Kerida, right.
I think it was Kerida.
So it's funny how in like 20 to 30 minutes, you can flick the switch on that and how things changed. Like, holy shit. How your life has changed, George. I've observed you and I have become friends. We hang out together. We do all that sort of stuff. How your life has changed over that time period is fucking extraordinary.
Yeah.
Well, can you share a little bit about that? So what was different, What's
I think
different?
something, just to touch on what you were saying before, I think you said this to me a few years ago, and it's really resonated with me. I think I think you made a comment about instead of things being in the way, they're a lot more on the way now. And that comment stuck with me because I feel like you were saying before, there's just this resistance to all this stuff that's happening externally rather than it kind of just being part of the process. It's there to show you something. And previously, we just have this big resistance to, this is a negative scenario that's happening in XYZ area of my life when really it's not. It's there to show you something. And your disconnect with not being able to see what that's trying to show you is where the friction is.
Yeah.
Not necessarily with it being in the way, it's just on the way.
On the way,
It's
yeah.
just another event.
Yeah.
But I mean, for me, like at the time, obviously I was working for the family business, going through a parental separation at the same time. I've always had a keen interest in, freedom's quite high on my value system. I always had a perception of a lack of freedom. So for me, freedom's always been really important. And I always wanted to kind of get out of the 9 to 5, be in a scenario where I can work remotely if I'd like to. Pre-COVID, obviously that was doable. I could work remotely, I could travel, etc. So I kind of started exploring alternative methods of income. One of those was actually trading. So I started off trading FX currencies in late 2017. That's what got me the Bob Proctor video link, which I then watched about 6 months before meeting you guys.
Yeah.
So I was learning how to trade. And then after I did RMY and the following seminars, I remember talking to Mitch about, I'm not sure what I want to do. I've got all these ideas and I had all these like little businesses.
I remember.
Do you remember?
I remember. You used to come in and you'd be telling me
all
about
these
this.
ideas.
Don't say anything about this, Mills, because it's like a big idea that and it was just this, you just had this enthusiasm about, okay, I want to try this, I want to try this, I want to try this.
Yeah, and I think it's good, right? Because as much as like some of those didn't work out, some of them did work out. And the ones that didn't work out, like, okay, yeah, cool, I might have wasted some time and money on it, but it showed me things and taught me things and gives you a little bit of experience and insight. And like I was talking to someone about this the other day, the illusion of what almost the success curve is meant to look like. It doesn't look like that. It's not the linear line. It's like got knots in it. It's got a little thing down here, then it goes up for a little bit, then it goes tracks sideways for a year or two, and it's just not this linear, you get it right first time every time. And I feel like a lot of the started and failed ideas that I had, that was all part of the process. So I was looking into trading, and I started learning how to trade currencies at the time. And then I think late, it was when you and I had a conversation about it, and I remember you saying to me, are you sure this is really what you want to do? Are you 100% clear on this? Because you've had these other ideas and this one's kind of stuck around. Are you sure this is what you want to do? And I remember trying to get really clear on it, and I told him, I was like, this is I'm clear. This is what I want to do. This is what I'm going to focus on moving forward.
Well, because at the time, just jumping back a bit, you guys, Mitch was your coach at that time, so he was.
And I used to call him. I'd call him like 2-3 times a week. I don't know what to do about this. I'm not sure about this. I think I might be overthinking this. And he always used to say to me, I feel like you're not clear on what you want to do. You need to get a bit clearer on it. And then as I started sort of removing all of the other distractions that weren't really serving me, I started focusing a lot more on the trading side. And that's when he was like, Are you sure? Are you clear on this? And I was like, yeah, I am. This is what I want to do. And
I think it's important because that's, it's important to make sure that people are sure. Do you know what I mean? You never tell a person what to do. It's one of the things I've always made sure with my clients. Never tell them what to do. Make the suggestions, help them see things from the other side, and then ask them, okay, what do you want to do? What are you going to do?
Yeah. And sometimes I would almost look for the answer when I call you, and I never got it. Never.
No.
I sometimes I used to tell my partner Alana about it, and I'd be like, I really thought Mitch was going to like give me XYZ answer, and she would pull me up on it and be like, he's not going to tell you the answer. You know already. And I remember reflecting on it and thinking, I'm clear. This is what I want to do. And as soon as I made that comment to him, I think I was sitting in the car. As soon as I got out of the car, something happened, and I got a little bit of a sign saying, "Okay, you've made the right choice." And then that just started a bit of a snowball effect from there. I started scaling up my trading a lot more. It was always my goal to trade investor capital. And I actually started managing some investor capital. What are we now? 2020, I started managing some investor capital.
Yep.
And my goal and intention with that was always to get to a stage where I could transition into that full time. And obviously 2021, we saw a pretty euphoric market environment across all asset classes. So I had some good returns. I made some great returns during that period. And I think it got to maybe September 2021. September 2021, because it was around Father's Day. September 2021, I had two things I was watching, and at the time I was actually working for a building inspection company, so I was going into a lot of roofs and under a lot of houses. And I remember having these two things on my radar, and I wanted to. They were two positions, and I wanted to take them. And I had a decent amount of size, so it was kind of it was a big deal. And I missed them both. I don't know what I was doing in a roof or under a house.
Under a house
correct,
or something. Yeah.
correct. And I missed them. And I never normally work out the opportunity costs of that, because it can mess with your head, and you start to make emotional decisions. Trading's very mechanical, or it should be very mechanical.
Systemized.
Yeah, the less fluctuation you have, the better. And I remember missing them both and thinking to myself, "Oh shit, that's pissed me off big time." And I think it might have been under a house or something. And I was thinking to myself, "I'm going to work it out. I want to know." Then we're getting to the stage now where that's just cost me a lot of money missing that. And I worked it out, and it would have done, those two opportunities in 2 weeks would have done me a year's salary at the building inspection company. And I resigned like a week later.
Yeah.
Because
it's costing you more to
was.
not be there. Yeah.
And I think, like you guys always say, you get the tap on the door, then you get the knock, then someone kicks the door in.
Yeah.
I feel like the tap on the door was earlier in the year.
Yeah.
Then it was knocking, and then that was the door being kicked in.
Yeah.
I resigned like a week later. It was actually on Father's Day. Sorry, Dad. I resigned on Father's Day. And I said, look, I'll finish up the end of the calendar year, and then I'd like to go full time. And then, this year I've kind of just been transitioning into a bit of a sort of actively managed fund portfolio kind of role. I'd like to scale up the investor capital side of things, which I'm in the process of doing now. It's just I've said this to you guys before. If you told me this like 2 or 3 years ago, I honestly would have laughed you out of the room. I would have said, "Nah, it's just the time horizon's going to be a lot longer than that." But obviously it's
and I think like you were saying before, that as soon as you made the decision, everything sort of fell into
the domino
place.
effect just started.
Yeah, and that's one of the things we say is that, like you were saying, Mitch, about getting clear. When you're clear, it's like everything opens up for you, right? Once you say yes, it's like the way to get your outcome opens up for you, and it feels like. It feels odd. It feels like where,
that's right.
And where has this come from? But realistically, all it is you're getting feedback that you're on the right track.
Correct. And you said this to me before. You were like, you attract energy that's in harmony with you.
Yeah.
And as soon as I'm vibrating in that area, all of a sudden these things start happening, and you're almost like, holy shit! Surely that's not. It's another sign, another sign, another sign, and it almost seems not too good to be true. But it seems like I'm just being fed all of this information now that's resonating with the way that I'm thinking.
Yeah.
And it's a funny thing because, energy is I mentioned this, I think, last time on I think it was a podcast we were doing, but this universe is made of energy, and our job is we're master manipulators, and our objective is to manipulate the energy into the shape of how we want our reality to turn out, because that's what we do. And that's the whole game of life. Do you know what I mean? So in tuning into the frequency of what we want, other people find us, because there's other people at the frequency, and when you tune in there, it just naturally happens, and it happens in ways that some people listening may go, "Oh, for fuck's sake, that's just coincidence or whatever." But that's not the case. It happens in ways that are absolutely congruent with what you're putting out.
Yeah.
And what it is you actually want to do and want to see and want to be able to receive. So life is a vibration game. So I just whenever we talk about energy, sometimes I feel like we don't ram home enough the point that this is a vibration game that you are in. You are a master manipulator of energy. So your energy is infinite and you can create whatever you want, but you got to tune into it emotionally. When you match your emotions with your ambitions, when you feel in your heart grateful as if it's already happened, even if it hasn't fucking happened, just get there anyway. And when you get there anyway, then it feeds back to you that you're on track, and hey presto, shit starts to happen that you think, holy fucking shit, man, I could never have even guessed that something like this would occur. And that is when you're in flow. That is when you are in that state that, that concept of, it's a miracle. It's not a miracle. Miracles don't happen in opposition to nature. They happen in opposition to what you fucking know of nature. If you understand how life, energy, vibration, your mission, your vision, what you're broadcasting into the world on a daily basis is affecting matter and creating the reality that you want, well, hey presto, now you're in charge of the fucking game.
Yeah. And you almost...
Go.
I was going to say, another one of your little comments that stuck with me. I remember you saying to me when we went out for dinner that time. I remember you saying to me,
"Oh, that's right, you won
can't,
that dinner."
Yeah, you can't create a new reality based on the thoughts, feelings, and emotions that have manifested the one you're in.
Yeah.
You have to turn up first, experience the gratitude associated with what you want to achieve,
Yeah.
and then wait for the universe to catch up.
Yeah.
And when towards the tail end of last year and even early this year, as I kind of have been discovering, what I want to do next and what is the next step for me, something I've tried to sort of hack into is, okay, well, that's what I want to do. So I'm just going to start behaving like that now. I'm not quite there yet externally, but if I start acting, behaving, and almost living a routine that would be congruent with that happening to me and wait for it to turn up, that's what's actually happened. So I kind of have been merging into what I want to do next before it's actually started happening. And then, hey presto, 2-3 months later, it turns up.
It's a funny thing because behaving is like beehiving, get fucking busy like a bee, turning up in that energy as if it's already there, you know, and when you do that, there's everybody else fluctuates around you,
I think that what you were saying about the manipulating energy is so cool. Like, I just so love that concept because that shows that you're in charge of your life. But I want to comment on that as well, though, because being in that place and having that these new realities show up, new opportunities show up, it doesn't remove the fact that you're going to have challenges along the way. And the challenge is still there just because I think people aspire to get to a place where they can maybe leave their job or where they can earn more money or where they can do X, Y, Z. But it's a process. And then when you're there, you're still going to be faced with challenges. But if you've created that challenge in the first place, you're more able to handle that new level of challenge and the same energy that goes into, because, we've spoken a few times, the same energy that goes into, messing up your life is the same energy that's going to go into this new challenge of how do I handle this new feeling of, like, let's say, for example, not going to work every day. I've got to get to this place, and there's going to be challenges there as well, right? So how do you manage and how do you notice, what have you noticed about those challenges as you've gone through?
I think the challenges, like the word challenge, yes, they're still there, but it's about the types of challenge, isn't it? Like, correct, as you ascend to different levels, you still have challenges, but they're better challenges. They're challenges that are congruent with what I want to do and what I'm looking for, and that feedback that, yes, okay, there's friction here. It is, but it's good friction. Mm-hmm. It's friction that I actually want to have because I'm trying to get to here, and that's what I'm working towards. And you're right, like the illusion of, okay, well, when you do X, Y, Z, all the problems go away. It's just bollocks. That's not true. That's not how it works. If anything, the more you take on, the more challenges you're going to be faced with, and like something like Alana and I have quite a lot on our plate at the moment. And we were speaking about this the other day, and I said to her, we've asked for this. Mm-hmm. Like, yes, we're in a bit of it's a bit stressful at the moment because we've got 8,000 things going on. Like we have our house on the go, we've got a wedding at the end of the year, etc. It kind of seems like there's just shit going on all the time at the moment. And we spoke about it in the car, and I was like, we wish for this. We've been actively working towards this. This was always going to come up. Mm-hmm. This is almost, we're at the door. We're sort of knocking on the door. We're nearly there. We need to push through this. We need to try and summon like X, Y, Z inside of ourselves to get over these challenges.
Well, because 3 years ago you wouldn't even have imagined that you would have these types of challenges, right? Yeah. And you'd be grateful for this type of a challenge, right?
Correct. But now you're here, sometimes you get a little distracted. Yeah, you do. You get caught up in the moment and you get distracted and you think, okay, well, is this happening to me? No, it's not. We've been working towards this for the last 2 years. It's happening for us. Mm-hmm. It's just on the way to where we're trying to get to. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think people and the word challenge, because challenge equates to such a negative feeling for people, they hate the word challenge, but they're challenged every day. You're challenged to get out of bed. You're challenged to, to get into your car. You're challenged to drive at work a different way. You're challenged, with roadblocks, with shitty bosses. I think it's important that people understand that the quality of your life is determined by the quality of challenges you have. And when the quality of challenges you have are congruent with a vision and a dream and an aspiration, then you'll invite them because your challenge is turned up and you're going, okay, what is this showing me? What is it teaching me? Because whatever the fuck it's showing me and whatever the fuck it's teaching me, it is absolutely aligned with where my vision is and where I'm trying to head. So embracing your challenges is it...
It's a peanut.
It is a
peanut.
Embracing your challenges is... fuck. can't believe you just did that. I'm glad there's no cameras on. Embracing your challenges is really important. Like, crafting your challenge aligned with your vision is a fucking no-brainer. You're crafting challenges every day, but for some people it's like, the challenge I've crafted today is to get out of bed and get my kids to school.
That's right.
When in actual fact they have all the tools, skills and ability to have bigger challenges. It doesn't mean that goes away. It just becomes a petty challenge and something that you'll do, but eventually you'll be able to delegate, so that you're just on mission and on vision with doing what you're doing.
Yeah. And you've said that to me before. You've said, you can change. What did you say? You can change in a state of pain and suffering, or you can change in a state of joy and inspiration.
Yeah.
The change is going to occur regardless. So what are you exposing yourself to? Are you changing from a negative aspect, or are you exposing yourself to scenarios that, yes, they're quote unquote challenges, but those challenges are being experienced in a state of joy and inspiration and pushing you forward.
The funny thing is, though, is that when people are in these deep states of depression or fucking feeling like they can't get ahead, and it's all around them. So they're so convinced that trying to tell them, no, there's another way to see this. But they're also right at the precipice of being able to see it another way. Do you know what I mean? So the deeper the challenge, the greater the outcome if they just flip the switch or flick the switch on what they're seeing. It's just a matter of the right question. The right question in fucking 10 seconds can completely turn what a person perceives as their greatest challenge into their greatest, their greatest adversity, the greatest thing that's the greatest thing that's going to empower them and enable them to get to where they want to get to.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. And like you said before, when you were like, the same energy that goes into creating the situation you're in now can be put towards that. How much energy would go into complaining to the boss, the co-worker, how much this sucks, how much that sucks, bitching to the guy at the post office about X, Y, Z. All of that combined together to now focus on your new mission. Holy shit.
Yeah.
You've got like 4 or 5 hours a day worth of wasted time that you can now put into this.
So where to from here now, George? How do you challenge yourself more? What's the next step?
So I wanted to do a challenge this last year that I actually didn't do. So I wanted to revisit things from my childhood that lit a fire in my heart. So I picked 3 things. It was martial arts, mountain biking, and football, soccer. And I chose mountain biking, obviously.
Yeah.
Me and Mitch go mountain
chose
bike.
it. You got like slammed.
Tell the story. Tell the story.
Oh, the mountain biking. We'll get to that in a minute. I decided I wanted to take up mountain biking, but I also wanted to, now that I had a little bit more time, I actually wanted to learn another language, and I haven't done that, and it's something that's been digging at me because I set myself some things that I wanted to do, and yes, took up mountain bike riding, did a couple of other little internal personal things, and I wanted to learn another language, and that's the one thing that I haven't done. So when I get settled into the house in a few weeks, I want to learn another language. But the mountain bike story, quick side story. So I started taking up mountain biking. I bought a cheaper mountain bike. It was a cool bike, but I bought a cheaper mountain bike. And I was going riding with Mitch, and like I picked it up pretty quickly, and like my fitness was rapidly increasing, and Mitch and a few of his mates were riding what's called an e-bike, which is like a bike with it's an electric bike.
So they're not actually riding.
Well, there's a bit of a divide. There's all the riders that have electric bikes that hate the non-e-bikers, then traditional bike versus e-bike. Everyone calls e-bikers pussies because they're not riding, and blah blah blah. Basically I had this non-e-bike, and Mitch was like, "Oh, you got to get yourself an e-bike." And I was like, "Look, I don't really need an e-bike, to be honest. I'm 27 or 28, whatever I was. I'm relatively fit. I don't need one." And I think I got my bike serviced. Yeah, I got my bike serviced, and Mitch knows the owner of the bike shop, and he calls me and he goes,
I am the owner of the bike
shop. Well, you are now.
Now he's the owner of the bike shop.
I sometimes wonder, I don't think he was the owner of the bike shop at the time, but I wonder now if he was, and that's why
he wasn't at the time.
He probably was. He probably got 10% of the money I spent. Anyway, so I was getting my bike serviced, and Mitch calls me and he goes, "Oh, you're going up to Liam's shop?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm just going to get a service before we go away." So we were going on a mountain bike trip for 2 days. And he was like, "Oh, yeah, cool." He's like, "When you go in there, you got to have a look at this e-bike that he's got in there. You got to take it for a ride." And I was like, "No, fuck off. I don't want to ride it. I don't want to look at it. I don't need a new bike. I just need a service." Anyway, I went in there, got a service, and I told him, "Look, I need a couple of new pedals because my pedals were a bit worn out." And I called Mitch. I was like, "Oh, I've dropped my bike off. Are you able to pick it up for me this afternoon?" And he's like, yeah. He's like, "Did you look at the new bike?" And I was like, "No, I didn't look at the new bike." He's like, "You should have looked at the new bike. It's really nice for..." And between that phone conversation and the end of the day, I'd agreed to buy that new bike without riding it, without looking at it. Mitch was just on at me all day. He's like,
he
you need
pounds
it.
as
He was like, you need it.
"Rah,
And I called the bike shop owner and I was like, look, I'm going to bring my ute up, but I had a canopy on the back. I was like, I've only got room for one bike. I was like, can you keep my old bike there? And my old bike ended up staying at his shop for honestly probably about a month. And I picked up the new bike, paid for my service on the old bike, and took the new bike down for this trip for a couple of days. And yeah, I left my old bike there for like 4 to 6 weeks.
Have you looked back?
No, great bike. Great bike.
There
It's
you
also
go.
better than Mitch's bike, which is worth every dollar.
Oh my gosh.
It was like an upgraded version of Mitch's bike, which is, yeah.
You boys and your pissing contests, honestly.
The new one's coming in this week. There's some new ones coming in this week, let me tell you.
Now that he's the owner, he'll probably get them
He'll
all
be
wholesale.
trying to- exactly.
He'll get one wholesale.
So we've got to finish up now. How highly, can I ask, do you rate and value the personal development that you've done as a result of? And I obviously we're personal development, and you've done the work with us as well, but that's not really what I'm talking about. I'm talking about in general. How highly do you rate personal development in terms of, your success?
I think, obviously, it's not all of the contributor, but a large proportion of what's happened to me in the last few years is as a direct result of what I've done. And, that's not me trying to sell anything, do anything like that. It's just about the fact that I kind of made a choice on that first info night that I wasn't where I wanted to be and I wanted to change. That choice then led me to bum in the seat of R&Y. That then started the snowball effect of that's led me to where I am. And I feel like, sometimes the illusion of, well, this person's done really well and that's the end of it. Like the personal development journey, quote unquote, is an everyday journey.
Yeah.
Like it's about the habits that you have. It's about the conversation you have with yourself when no one else is around.
Yeah.
When you lay your head on the pillow, you talk to yourself.
Yeah.
The conversations you have alone is very important. And I feel like, the information that I got from you guys, like I didn't just take it, receive it, and that was it. Everything fell into place.
Exactly.
I took it, received it, and then I paid the rent every single day for, even now, like I still implement stuff that you've showed me all the time. I redid my vision board the other day because everything on there was completed. And I feel like, you've got this choice between like taking that information and implementing it or not. And it's the implementation is where the magic is, so to speak. So I feel like, for me, like it's hard to. You've said this to me before, and this is a really good comment. I always reference this. I remember at the end of R&Y, you were like, we've given you some tools and we've taught you a few things and we've given you some information. And he said, but that information has a cost, right? Because now you know better. Mm-hmm. He was like, you can't unlearn what we've just showed you. Now you're going to know better. And I remember, because every time stuff comes up, you almost can't turn a blind eye to it anymore because you know better. So you can't really bury your head in the paddock and, use drugs to stop feeling a certain type of way or whatever the addictions are, because you know better. And I feel like for me, that's sort of at the forefront now, is that I actually can't slip back into old ways as such, because I just that information is kind of ingrained in my mind now. I can't forget it.
And I think that from my perspective, just it seems like when you have a certain level of success and you've done the work, done personal work, it grounds that. You feel like it's not going to get taken away from you, because like you were saying beforehand, you were doing it, you were getting ahead, and people get ahead not realizing how they've got there, and they're trying to get to a place to try and get approval, whereas now you're doing it for you and you're only doing it for you at the end of the day. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think that makes a massive difference. Anything else we want to?
Well, tell us what you're doing now. What are you working on? What are you doing?
So at the moment, I'm in the process of starting a kind of like a venture capital fund, focusing on early Web3 sort of cryptocurrency projects. So obviously, looking at like startup funding before they actually reach the market, helping them develop the products and things like that. And I think, like, I was thinking about this the other day, like something I will say, the illusion of, like the traditional finance cryptocurrency divide being like this separate thing. And, a lot of people are like, cryptocurrency is going to take over the world, blah, 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 blah. It's just not realistic. But the implementation of, like, for example, Web3 and what that can do for the way we use the internet, or like I use the word lightly, like DeFi, which is decentralized finance, is a loose term because it kind of implies like the divide between TradFi and crypto, which I don't necessarily agree with. But the implementation of that and what that can provide for example, people who don't have access to everyday banking and things like that is quite, that is going to get implemented, whether it's now or in 5 years or whatever. It's kind of, it's on the way. And I feel like, we have these cycles of, in 2000 there was the dot-com boom, and you had an opportunity there to secure yourself at the beginning of, for example, what we take for granted now, which is the internet, which is, there's been a lot of opportunities like that over the last 50 to 100 years, and I feel like we're at the start of one of those now. So I've just really been focusing on trying to get myself into a situation where I can be at the front of the implementation of those new technologies. And yeah, we've been working on setting up a fund just to invest in early projects and try and sort of secure our seat at the table at the start of what I think will be, a transformation of the way we kind of interact digitally.
Great. Cool. Love it.
Well, if it wasn't for you, I wouldn't have known what an NFT was, and
You
now
do
I'm
have
deep
some
down.
Cool, do you know what?
Deep down the rabbit hole.
You should mention the fact if in 20 years' time the DeGods are still around, Amelia has a extremely rare DeGod that she is.
I love.
She's sitting on. I wouldn't sell
For the
it.
moment.
I wouldn't
Roosting
sell it.
on.
No.
I wouldn't sell it.
Well, you did say to me, maybe you should sell it.
I kind of thought that because I was like, as a percentage of your portfolio, I was like, okay, we're kind of like, we're getting up there now. When you got a 6-figure photo of an internet picture, then, I thought maybe it's time to remove some profit. But no, you do have a very cool NFT collection.
Yeah. Thanks
Very
to
good.
your input with all those NFTs. Thanks, George, for joining us.
No
We
worries.
love and
George.
appreciate you. You know that.
Pleasure.
I know we
Thank
joke around a lot, but
We do joke around.
Yeah.
We mountain biking this week.
I think we are, aren't you? We're going down
We're going to
south.
hurtle. We're going to
and
Margaret River.
have
We're going to hurtle down some mountains.
We are going to have a quick ride. I haven't ridden Margaret River in a while, to be honest.
So nice.
It's so nice down there.
No, it's good.
We'll
I like
enjoy
coming in. Thanks for your time, and it's good to chat and throw things around. I enjoyed it. So thank you.
Thank you.
Even if you live the most extraordinary life, there is always more to learn. This is why tens of thousands of people are using MJB Seminars techniques to hack their consciousness and bridge the gap from where they are to where they actually want to be.
MJB seminars use cutting-edge transformational processes that are science-based and backed to help people break through subconscious barriers and limiting beliefs in order to reset, reboot, and live inspired. If you'd like to know more today, Google search MJB Seminars Bridge the Gap, click on the first link and watch the video.
Now, for simply watching the video, you will also receive a complimentary coaching session with one of our master coaches valued at over $600 to help you get traction in your life today. Remember, live life inspired.